Hello, New Mexico, and welcome to another episode of Around the Roundhouse, the New Mexicans podcast featuring the policies, politics, and personalities of the state capitol during the 60-day session. My name is Daniel Chacón, and I'm the state government reporter for the New Mexican. Every week, my colleagues and I will be bringing you the latest news and information from the Roundhouse, as well as recapping the highlights and sharing interviews with key political figures. Our guest this week is Senator Angel Charley, a Democrat from the Pueblo of Laguna, who is among the freshman class of lawmakers this year. Things are really picking up speed here at the Capitol, so thank you, Senator, for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to join you. Goatsi haupa, everyone. Hello.
Senator, as one of the new faces of the legislature, tell us a little bit about your personal and professional background. Who is Angel Charley?
Okay, well, it's a big question, but I'm a mom. I have 3 children, so that's the lens I see everything through. I'm a auntie, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter. I'm an advocate, an activist, and an organizer, and I like to say that I'm anything it takes to get the job done.
Fantastic. And it's interesting that you say you're a mom first. So that's, you have 3 children, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we have a blended family. So my husband brought my 2 bonus kids to our family, 21 and 18. They're both at the University of New Mexico right now. And then my little one is 17, and they're still in high school. They're a junior.
I'll do a quick plug here for Go Lobos. Senator, why did you want to become a senator?
Well, I don't know if I ever wanted to become a senator. That's just the truth, right? But sometimes these opportunities open up and you have to step into responsibility. And so there was an open seat in Senate District 30, and it was an opportunity for my community to be represented in a way that it had never been represented before. Mm-hmm. So I threw my hat in the ring.
Well, I read somewhere that you're not only the first female, but the first Native American woman to represent Senate District 30. Does that come with high expectations?
Yeah. You know, if you think about how incredible it is to be the first of anything, it comes with a lot of expectations, but a lot of responsibility as well. And I don't take that lightly. In the preparation for the race and thinking about what it would mean, it's not lost on me that Native Americans only got the right to vote or citizenship 100 years ago. And so when you think about it in the context of that timeline, we're making great progress. And I look forward to more of us in office and places where decisions are being made about our people and our communities.
If I'm not mistaken, there's 9 Native American lawmakers in the legislature this year. So that's got to be a huge source of pride.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, 9. But I will say, in order for us to meet parity in the state, we need 14, at least 14 of us up here. And we'll keep working toward that until we reach parity on, how many Native American citizens there are in the state.
Senator, as one of the newbies here, what has been the toughest part of the job so far? And are you enjoying it? Are you having fun?
I am enjoying it. It feels so good to be on this side of advocacy. I still feel like an advocate up here, very much through and through. And the hardest part isn't actually this work. It's balancing my full-time job. I still work full-time while doing this. And for young people who are entering the legislature who aren't retired, who aren't independently wealthy, this is the reality of what we have to do to be here.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is if you could give us a glimpse into what an average day looks like for a working mom who is obviously balancing the job of being lawmakers. I mean, do you sleep?
I am a person who needs and covets 8 hours of sleep. That has not changed since I've been here. I know it will in the upcoming weeks. We're at the halfway point. But yeah, I'm up early, 5 a.m., before 5 a.m. most mornings. I'm checking my emails. I'm getting ready and prepped for the day. I'm usually here at the Roundhouse by 7:30. And then my alarm, just went off because it's time to call my daughter and make sure she's up and ready for school. And then, we get here, we're in committees. I'm in a committee every single day. I serve on conservation and health and public affairs. And I've got work meetings in between. We're meeting constituents. And then after legislature, I'm finishing up work, responding to emails, calling my staff, checking in, and then in bed if I'm lucky by 9:30, 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a busy day for you. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do for fun while you're in Santa Fe? Or is there time for fun?
I haven't made time for fun, but what I will say is I've really enjoyed getting to know my colleagues and just who they are and what they bring. So those little moments in between the really intense work and decisions and conversations we're having, I'm really sneaking in opportunities to get to know the people around me.
Right on. Well, one person that's getting to know New Mexicans is Deb Haaland. And I wanted, she's obviously just recently announced or officially launched her campaign for governor. Do you think that we'll have the first female Native American governor in U.S. history in 2026 with Deb Haaland?
If there is a state that's going to do it, it's New Mexico. We are leading in so many areas, and we have to remember that. And if we're lucky, we'll have Deb Haaland as our first Native American governor in the state of New Mexico. And I was proud to endorse. That just came out yesterday. We have to see ourselves in these roles to believe it's possible. And gosh, she's just done that for so many of us, including myself.
Do you know her personally?
I know Deb personally.
So tell us what she's like. We obviously know her as a former Interior Secretary, former Congresswoman, chair of the Democratic Party of New Mexico. What is Deb like when, the cameras aren't on her? Or what is she like sort of just as a person?
Really what you see on the cameras, intentional, focused, gracious, all of those things, thoughtful, kind. I mean, she really is, what you see on camera is how she is off camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Senator, lots of lawmaking going on in this building nowadays, and actually really from the beginning. And I'm just curious about some of the bills you're sponsoring, including this proposal to establish a turquoise alert system to help locate missing Native Americans in New Mexico. As you know, the state has experienced disproportionately high rates of missing and murdered Indigenous people. So how would this turquoise alert system help?
Yeah. And Daniel, it's important to note that New Mexico has the highest rates of murdered and missing Indigenous people in the country. And so this alert system isn't only timely, it's necessary for the state. It's a critical piece of legislation that will amend the current alert system, develop criteria for when a Native person goes missing. And Native people have a unique political status because of our trust responsibility with the federal government. And so this would establish essentially accountability. Okay. We'd get the systems to talk together better. It would bridge some of the jurisdictional gaps that we have, and then just get this information out there into the public. It's been introduced in a couple of states, Colorado right to our north. I think they've issued 17, and 16 of which they were able to find the missing person within days. Mm-hmm. And the 17th person they did find deceased. So it's working. We can point to examples where it's working. And we have cause for it. We need it now.
And you served on the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Relatives Task Force. Did that idea come out of your service on that task force, or is this something that you've been thinking about for a long time?
Yeah, I was on the task force very early on, and then because I ran the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women, had one of my staff step in for me. Okay. And yes, this idea came from the Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women strategic implementation plan. So this is actually one of the recommendations of that plan.
Okay. Senator, any other bills you're sponsoring that you really hope will make it all the way to the governor's desk?
Yeah, we are working on right now, a coalition of us, the Comprehensive Sex Education Bill, which would establish criteria for students in grades 8 through 12 to have really comprehensive sex education. And it's really a violence prevention measure. It's ensuring that young people have the language and understand all things about human sexuality. And we know that it's not being implemented the same across the state. And so this would standardize the information that young people are getting, and ideally promote their safety, especially for young people who are targeted, right, and that have marginalized identities.
When you say sex education, that's automatically going to generate maybe some pushback. Do you anticipate some resistance to this bill?
Sure, we anticipate resistance, but I think this is important to name that we're providing medically accurate sexual education, and it's information that all of our young people should have.
The 60-day session is happening with the beginning of the Trump administration, and I wanted to ask you, how can state government help tribal nations in this era of DOGE and potential federal funding cuts?
Strong partnership, communication. I believe in policy that centers people that are impacted most. So it's time to listen to tribes and other groups that are being affected directly by this. What do they need, and how can we create solutions that'll meet those needs?
Senator, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I know you're headed to a committee meeting and to meetings with other lawmakers. Is there anything that I'm missing to ask you or that you'd like to add about this 60-day session?
It's just an honor to be here. I mean, really, being on this side of the advocacy, back to the turquoise bill, I've worked and advocated so long on this issue, and now to be in a position to actually influence and make a decision about this is powerful, and we belong in these spaces, and it's so great to be here.
Thank you so much, Senator. I appreciate it. We'll take a quick break and discuss some of the highlights of the 5th week of the session and look ahead at what's to come in week 6.
This is Patrick Dorsey, publisher of the Santa Fe New Mexican. Looking to reach a wider audience and grow your business? For 175 years, the Santa Fe New Mexican has been the trusted voice of Santa Fe, with unmatched local reach in print and online. In addition to our long-standing, independent, family-owned newspaper, we have a full-fledged marketing team with the expertise to help you succeed in the 21st century. From traditional print to precision-targeted digital advertising, we have the tools to connect you with your ideal customers. Partner with us and see the results for yourself. Advertise with the Santa Fe New Mexican and unlock your business's full potential. Visit us at santaFeNewMexican.com/advertising or call us at 505-995-3852. Thank you.
We're back with Around the Roundhouse. I'm your host, Daniel Chacón. We've officially reached the halfway point of the 60-day session, and the pace is definitely picking up. As she raced to her office on the 4th floor of the Capitol, State Senator Linda Trujillo, a Santa Fe Democrat who previously served in the State House of Representatives, said the pace of this year's session has been unlike any other.
They're going fast and furious. Very well. I'm excited to learn how the Senate operates. It's a little bit different, but the Senate finance is like a full-time job. So I'm really dedicated to making sure that we get the money in the budget that we need for our community and the rest of New Mexico.
The pace of this session compared to other sessions?
Much faster. Much faster.
Senator Jay Block, a Republican from Rio Rancho who is among the freshman class of lawmakers, said the first 30 days of the session have been a mixed bag.
Well, quite frankly, the most dangerous time for a business or anyone in New Mexico is when the legislative body is in session. So right now we have been able to stop some bad bills. We've been able to work together with the Democrats on a lot of good stuff. It's been a fire hose up here, but I definitely have enjoyed working a lot of issues that I've campaigned on, and I just hope that some of these bills actually get heard in committee. It'd be nice to see them get to the floor of the Senate and the House and signed by the governor to help make New Mexico better.
Block said Republicans, who are in the minority, aren't getting a fair shake on their bills or amendments they are proposing to Democrat-sponsored bills.
I'm looking forward to the session being over in 30 days.
Why do you say that?
Oh, it's very challenging and frustrating when you have good bills and you're not getting them through, or you have great amendments and you're not getting them through. But it's politics, and I just got to just keep focusing on serving the people of Senate District 12.
Senator Candy Ezell, a Republican from Roswell, said the legislature isn't on track.
We are not on track because the governor wanted crime prevention bills, and those haven't been addressed yet. All we've been doing is raising fees for everybody that wants a couple of $3, $5, $10, $15 million.
So what should we expect going forward?
I think that we're at the halfway point, and the people of New Mexico better sit up and pay attention to what's actually happening.
While lawmakers failed to meet a self-imposed deadline to deliver a crime package and a suite of behavioral health bills to the governor's desk within the first 30 days, both proposals are making steady progress. In fact, both have cleared one chamber of the legislature and are starting to be heard in committee in the opposite chamber and will likely be heard on the floor in the coming days. One of the big stories of the week happened in the House Commerce and Economic Development Committee, which took up a proposal to establish a paid family and medical leave program in New Mexico. The hearing drew a packed crowd. Among those in attendance was my colleague, Margaret O'Hara, who covered the hearing. Margaret, tell us what House Bill 11 would do.
Yeah, so this proposal is very different from the version that we saw earlier in this legislative session. Essentially, the latest version gives us two forms of leave. We've got welcome child leave, and then we've got family wellness leave. So that welcome child leave gives one parent a flat rate of $3,000 per month after welcoming a new child. It provides both parents with up to 12 weeks of leave from their job with job protection. And that proposal would be paid for with existing funding from the state's early childhood education and care department. Meanwhile, family wellness leave, which includes bereavement leave, medical leave, and a few other types, would allow qualifying workers to be able to take 6 weeks of family wellness leave while receiving a portion of their earnings. That component would be paid for by premiums, which would be paid by employees and employers. Essentially, a fraction of their wages would go toward paying for that program.
Let me ask you, did this revised proposal sit well with all committee members? I mean, what happened during the committee hearing?
So it was a contentious hearing. There were quite a few folks there, members of the public voicing their opposition to this proposal. Actually, early that morning, Republican leadership had sent out a tweet inviting folks to come down and voice their opposition. And there was some robust debate. I feel like we hear those words a lot at the Capitol, robust debate. But that's really what it was during that hearing.
The bill, if I recall correctly, passed out of committee on a 6-5 vote, and with one Democrat, Representative Marion Matthews, voting in opposition. Did she explain why she voted against the measure?
She sure did. So essentially, she was the one exception to the party line vote split. And she took time to explain her vote. She mentioned that other Democrats had voted against a similar paid family and medical leave proposal last year and ended up losing their seats in the primaries. Matthews was primaried and she won back her seat. She actually won both her primary and general election by more than 10 points. She said that indicated a strong preference from the community she represents. And she also added that essentially this proposal would not get her vote until it has a carve-out for certain community service providers, which was actually an amendment she proposed during the committee meeting. But specifically, she mentioned she'd like to see an exemption for service providers for people with developmental disabilities. Otherwise, it was a party line split. We had several Republicans who were vocal about their resistance to this bill. They framed it as anti-business and sort of as a form of government intrusion, even though notably businesses with 5 or fewer employees would not have to pay for this, but could still benefit from it.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for the great explainer. May I ask, where does the bill go next?
It is headed to the House floor, and I'm thinking we can expect a lively debate there as well.
Bring your popcorn, Margaret. Thank you so much for that explainer. You're always thorough. I appreciate your help. And for folks who don't know Margaret, she is a regular presence at the Capitol. So please say hi to her. She's a fantastic colleague. Week 6 of the session will continue to be another busy one with ongoing committee hearings and a lot more bills being heard on the floor of each chamber, including the paid family and medical leave proposal that we just talked about. As always, the New Mexican will be there to cover the goings-on at the Capitol. My thanks again to Senator Charley for joining us, and thank you for listening to Around the Roundhouse. Join us each week as we share the latest from the Capitol by subscribing to our podcast through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. The New Mexican has a devoted team of reporters and photographers at the Roundhouse each day during the 60-day session to provide you with the latest developments. Follow our coverage online at SantaFeNewMexican.com, where you can also subscribe to our political newsletter, The Roundhouse Report, for updates sent directly to your inbox. Until next time, I'm Daniel Chacón, and this has been Around the Roundhouse.